Hi there, welcome to Kneppy Invest and welcome to Kneppy's ASX Rundown for the 11th of March 2024. A really interesting day on the market. I'll talk about the interesting day in a second, but before we do that, let's have a look at some of the comments you wrote or gave me in my last ASX Rundown video, about 7 comments or so. Most of the comments were just appreciative to me. Thank you. Thank you. I have liked your comments, I think. I like your trades plus winners and losers and a company of interest. Thank you, Agent 8627. Thank you, everyone who wrote a comment. Nice to see corporate travel management starting to rebound as well. Adrian Saran. Shelley Dugmore said you sold out of Duratec. What research did you find? Thanks, Ian. You're amazing. You might not think I'm amazing in a second when I talk about Duratec. So whole reason I bought Duratec in the beginning was it was just a breakout. It was just a trade. And the whole reason I went through the half-year results was just to see if the company belongs more in my small cap or even my quality portfolio. And I decided no. The chart looks fairly weak, and it's just in the sector that it's really hard to become a quality company, my definition of a quality company. And just because the chart looks really weak at the moment, looks much more bearish than it did, I thought I would just go back to my original thesis for buying in this company, a breakout, a trading position, and I'll take profits and put those profits into other trades. I've yet to do that. I was going to put some of my money into the banks, potentially. The banks probably are down a little bit today, so potentially tomorrow morning I will buy some banks with profits I've made out of Duratec. Now, just because I'm not willing to own Duratec for the long term doesn't mean Duratec is not one of those companies that some of you cannot own for the long term. It's just up to personal preference. It's just my opinion of that whole sector, not Duratec, the company itself. Brad Hunt says, I was wondering if you had any ideas on how to best play the electrification theme on the ASX. I like you have been aware or have been an owner of IPG since just after IPO, and like the thematic, particularly with the rise of data centers, AI. Next DC, Goodman, and Data3 all look expensive. Any other ideas? Probably the one idea I do have right now, and all those are good ideas, maybe except Data3. I'm not sure about Data3. All those are good ideas. Wouldn't necessarily say Goodman Group is overvalued, and it's really hard to value NextDC because that company is not profitable at all. Goodman Group is, but a lot of people try to value Goodman Group as a REIT. That's a big mistake. It's also an asset manager, and I have seen an expert actually make this mistake in the past when they've stated Goodman Group is significantly overvalued because look at its value, the markup of the company compared to the net tangible assets. You don't do that with Goodman Group because it has another side of its business that is a really good part of the business, the asset manager. IPG, yeah, that's a good play. Another one is Genus Plus, GNP. So they're into infrastructure, communications, all that sort of thing. They also are into power grids, the things, that bring power from one place to the next. What's called that? The power towers, that sort of infrastructure. What do you call them? Power lines. That's it, power lines. And does look like over the next 5, 10, 20 years, there's going to have to be a complete overhaul of our power infrastructure. And that's the sort of company that could benefit in the long run from that. Have a look at that company's last half-year results. It was a really good half-year results. Chart looks really good as well. And I just think that is a medium to longer term play when it comes to electrification, in particular, improving our infrastructure in this company. And thank you, Jack's Facts. Hi, Kneppy, another top quality video. Really gave me an insight into your thought processes. I never miss a video. Thank you very much. Now, before we have a look at the market, actually, no, the first thing we'll do is have a look at the market. And what I'm going to do here is zoom in a little bit. So we already know market was down big today, but let's have a look at the sectors. And this is where it gets interesting. IT only down 0.33%. Staples down at 0.41%. Utilities 0.92%. Materials down 2.6%. Financials down 2.2%. The worst performing indice was the XBK, which is the ASX 200 banks, down 2.7%, just a little bit worse than the ASX 200 resources, down 2.6%. So the banks and the resources had a big day, and the majority of the big companies on the ASX are resource and bank companies. So that's why the market had a really bad day today, because materials and banks had a bad day. And that's probably another reason why my portfolio wasn't that bad today. I had a look at my portfolio before I started recording this video. It wasn't that bad, but my portfolio didn't have a bad day today because one of the companies in my portfolio was up 91% or 90% or something like that. And I'm going to talk about that company first when we look at the announcements today. So before we have a look at stock scans, the best performing and worst performing companies, let's have a look at some announcements that were released today. So starting with that company I mentioned that was up 90 or 91%, Task Group. What was up 91%? Task agrees to scheme agreement with PAR Technology. This is a takeover bid for the company at a significant premium. In fact, without even knowing what the premium is, we can always say, well, the premium is going to be at least a 91% because the share price opened up 91%. In fact, the share price opened up at 81 cents and actually fell during the day, which means the premium is about 100%. And the premium is over 100% to where the share price was last Friday. But this takeover, or the company that's taking over or wants to take over Task Group, is called PAR Technology. They're listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Another thing I could do is just say I want some shares in PAR Technology. I had a look at PAR Technology after reading this announcement, and PAR Technology is still burning through a lot of cash. It's not profitable, has a market cap about 1.2 billion. So I do prefer cash. Now, I was going to sell on open. And this is one thing I do when there is a takeover bid for a company I own. I typically take profit straight away, just in case the takeover bid is withdrawn. But this was a case where I decided not to sell my shares in Task Group because of a different reason. And I have mentioned before, I don't look at taxes or tax implications from when I'm selling or buying a company, unless I'm getting close to 365 days holding a company. And that's exactly where I am with Task Group. I've been holding shares in this company for 321 days or something like that. And there's no reason to take profits in this company just yet, because if I just wait 41 days, I'll pay less tax if I sell or when I sell my shares in Task Group. So all I have to do is wait 41 days. And this takeover bid is going to need much longer than 41 days. So my only concern, and I think there's a high likelihood this takeover bid goes through, my only concern will be if PAR Technology withdraw their bid. That's my only concern. And that's one of the reasons why I usually take profits. So in this case, I was umming about it, and I'm going to take profits. Won't take profits just yet, but eventually I will. And more than likely, towards the end of April, I will sell my Task Group shares. And more than likely, if it still looks like this takeover bid is going to go through, Task Group shares would probably be nearer 80, 81 cents by then, because the implied valuation of this takeover bid, if you did accept shares in PAR Technology, will be Task Group valued at 98 cents per share, which is considerably lower than what it is now. Now, we are in a boring part of the year. Not many announcements are released. So we had a good one from Task Group. The next announcement released today was from Ike GPS Group. Ike secures another significant multi-year subscription deal. Now, one of the reasons I go through this process is I'm finding companies whose shares are breaking out. So let's have a look at what's called GPS. So this is Task Group. No need looking at that chart. So Ike GPS. So I'm seeing if the shares in this company are broken out, and they're not. In fact, the share price was higher than this just 2 weeks ago. So even though the share price of this company rose 17% on the back of this particular announcement, this is not a breakout. What I'm looking for is at least a 6-month high, high volume coming through on the back of a good financial announcement. Now, this could be on the back of a good financial announcement, but we have two problems. Not high volume, in fact, fairly low volume coming through today, and the share price is not at a 6-month high. The reason I'm looking for a 6-month high is because all these shareholders, a lot of high prices mean they're now wanting to sell. A lot of them are wanting to sell, and that puts a little bit of pressure on the share price, because it's all about supply and demand, and there's not enough demand for shares, and more than likely there won't be because of a lack of trading today, lack of volume. I think the share price has potential to drop even though the company released a pretty good announcement. Now, there was another really good announcement released today. I'm going to go past Safe Roads market update. That's the sort of announcement I will always look at, but that was nothing announcement. Capricorn Metals, Carlo Winder, Gold Project Operations Update. Went past that. What I sometimes do is just have a look how the company performed. So Capricorn up or down 4%, and Safe Roads up 7.7%, but I'd say shares in that company are illiquidly traded. But the really interesting announcement today, apart from Task Group, that was the most interesting announcement. The most interesting announcement was Dimerix. Dimerix successfully passes efficacy interim analysis. Now, if you've been following my videos, you would know that I am a Dimerix shareholder, but I de-risked my position. Last week, I took profits, but I maintained a position just in case we saw this announcement. I was expecting an announcement from the company in regards to these interim analysis results. We have that, and I expected the share price of Dimerix to increase significantly in response to this particular announcement. So let's have a look at the share price. Nothing. What happened? Dimerix share price did nothing today. Funnily enough, so they released that announcement at 8:22 a.m. and then at 8:42 a.m., 20 minutes later, they went into a trading hold and they're raising capital, which is really bizarre. So typically what a company does is they release the announcement, the good announcement, the share price pops up 30, 40, 50%. And then a few days later, they'll go into trading hold to raise capital. Dimerix have done something I've never seen before when they release a really good announcement and then do a capital raising at the same time. Bizarre. I would want, if I was a shareholder, if this capital raising is not being done at a premium, I'd be freaking upset with Dimerix management. So hopefully this particular capital raising is being done at a premium. Now, there is potential that a fund manager, not fund manager, an investment bank or whatever, got in the ear of Dimerix share or management and said, you have to do the capital raising right now when you release these results because that's how you get institutions excited, fund managers excited. So maybe that investment banker, and I'm maybe being a little bit unfair on Dimerix, we call them management right now. This probably did not happen, but I can see this happening, just me being cynical. And the whole reason the investment banker is doing this is because they have clients who want to buy some shares at a cheaper price in Dimerix, say 28 cents. So the share price closed at 30 cents on Friday, and they want to get in a much lower price. Will this affect share price bouncing up when they go back to trading? Probably not. I'm thinking the share price will bounce up, even if the capital raising is done at a slight discount. But preferably, you'd want the capital raising done at a nice little premium because they could have and should have just waited a few days and waited to when the share price is at 50 cents or even 60 cents. I have no idea how the market is going to react to these results. It will be positive. Other than that, nothing much has happened today. So Ecograph released 127% increase in Panko mineral resources. Those sort of announcements, I just go straight past. CEO update from Touch Ventures. So a lot of these companies I've never heard. So I'm looking for announcements that could drive the share price higher on good volume. So profit upgrades, market updates in regards to how the company is performing or any sort of guidance update. So Clinical Pharmaceuticals, new case of SCENESSE efficacy in vitiligo presented AAD. This is a sort of announcement I go straight past. Digital X, Bitcoin and digital asset exposure. Yeah, up nicely, 1%. Findi, white label ATM license update. That's the announcement I did open up because I'm a shareholder of a Findi. It was a positive announcement and the share price probably is up. Yep, up 3.8%. Probably would have been higher if it was a big update on the ASX. 4D Medical, US budget pushes for action on screening for veterans. So that's sort of a, so what sort of announcement. Share price up a little bit. So that's not the sort of announcement that I would get excited about. Anything else here? I'm not seeing anything at the moment. Deep Yellow equity raising presentation. Looks like they've raised some capital. 220 million for Deep Yellow. Their market cap is $1 billion. Understandable. Okay, and now, so we get to about 10 a.m. And after about 10 a.m., I go away and do other stuff. Oh, at 9:57, Mesoblast. FDA supports accelerated approval pathway for heart failure. This could be a positive, only up 1.6%. Okay. So I thought that could have been a positive announcement for Mesoblast. Probably the most interesting, apart from Task Group, Dimerix is Magnus Energy Technologies. Possibly this is the most exciting. Just going to update this right now, just to see if there's any other announcements. Because first thing I did or just before I started recording was I updated this and nothing. You can see how quiet it is this time of year, because from 11 a.m. only 3 announcements, price-sensitive announcements were released. Should mention this. This is all price-sensitive announcements. So Magnus Energy Technologies released a response to ASX letters. I have actually, let's have a look at this. Magnus Technologies has not traded for about 3 or 4 months. 5th of December. And the 5 days leading up to last time it traded, each and every day it was down more than 5%. This is a company I would stay well clear of, because massive amount of debt, still a story stock, no revenue, and you can see what happens when a story stock has a lot of debt. This happens. I don't know what's been happening with this company. It's taking a long time to open. If I was at the ASX announcements website, this would be open up in 1 second. For some reason, ComSec announcement open up really slow. Okay. This is not an announcement from Magnus. This is an announcement from ASX. This is interesting. This is really interesting. So looks like ASX prompted this particular announcement. So they've been conversing a fair bit, it seems like, since the 8th of December, when shares were suspended. ASX notes the following. ASX communications with Magnus since its suspension have related to Magnus's indirect majority interest in IM3NY battery plant, and in particular recent changes in the governance of that particular plant and Magnus's ability to meet its disclosure obligations. Based on those communications, Magnus has not satisfied ASX that it's currently able to comply with its obligations under listing rules 3.1, 12.1, 12.5. 3.1 is obligations, continuous obligations, something like that. I could be completely mistaken. Continuous disclosures, that's right. And 12.1 and 12.5, ongoing requirements. Okay, so yeah. Actually, let's have a look at 12.1 and 12.5. Let's see what ASX can. 12.1. The level of an entity's operations must, in ASX opinion, be sufficient to warrant the continued quotation of the entity's securities in a continuous listing. 12.5 is an entity's structure and operations must be appropriate for a listed entity. Not sure what's going on with Magnus Technology. So this document is, 35 pages long. Okay, so ASX gave Magnus a lot of questions to answer. And it seems like Magnus answered some of these questions. Answer those questions, but then ASX was not happy. In fact, ASX had more questions. So what are some of the questions? Okay, this is interesting. B and C here. Magnus's announcement titled AGM Presentation logged 30th of November 2023, which states on slide 7, the production team communicated that they are on target to achieve a daily production run of 300 cells by December 2023. We are past that date. Then in section C, Magnus's announcement titled IM3NY Update lodged on the 10th of Jan 2024. MAP is the announcement platform on the ASX. I believe that's what it is. Yeah, the ASX Market Announcements Platform. On the 10th of January, which disclosed operational update, the AGM presentation, blah, 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 the production team that they were on target to achieve a daily run rate of 300 cells. Okay. Magnus has since been informed by the new board that this is not the case, and there was no production in December 23, nor any revenue generated in that month. So I'm pretty sure what ASX is getting at is, did you communicate this information in a timely fashion? Because that was released on the 10th of January. That is well after December. So possibly that's what ASX is trying to get at. Listing 3.1, which requires a listed entity to immediately give ASX any information concerning it that a reasonable person would expect to have a material effect on the price or value of the entity's securities. That's one thing they're trying to get at here, ASX. So Magnus mentioned that that plant would be in production in December. Then they announced on 10th of January that was not so, and ASX is saying, wait, there's a bit of a time lag there, and this is in violation of listing 3.1, where you have to give this information as soon as possible, and that's probably what they've mentioned here. Definition of aware: when was Magnus aware of this information? So that's really interesting. Okay. Okay, so this is all the answers that were released on the 17th, not released, given by Magnus on the 17th of January. The problem with this, there was so many questions, a lot of questions here. There was a lot of questions here that Magnus had to answer. So I'm not going to go through all this. And main questions or answers I would like to see would maybe be 3, 4, 5. So I'm just going to see what or how Magnus replied to those questions here. 3, 4, 5. Okay. Four is really interesting. This is really, really interesting. I'm not sure about this, Magnus. So the answer 4, let's go back to question 4. So question 4 says, if the answer to 3 is no, or you have to look at the question 3 now, please advise the basis for their view. Does Magnus consider the information to be information that a reasonable person would expect to have a material effect on the price or value of its securities? Now, another question I have is shares in this company were suspended, so who cares anyway in the end because the shares were suspended? And Magnus answered that. Really interesting. As noted in the answer to 1, above cell production and sales performance at that plant is not of itself considered to be material to Magnus shareholders. Magnus has not historically released this information on a regular basis. I'm not sure about that, Magnus. Maybe ASX was not happy with some of their replies, in particular that. So let's have a look. I think there's more questions from ASX down below. Yep, here we go. So more questions, 1st of February. Okay, let's see if they're questioning. So just pause for a second here. Okay, here's a question or a request for information right here. And this is response to in response to Magnus' response, cell production and sales performance is not of itself considered to be a material to Magnus shareholders. Then ASX replied and said, hey, wait. Here are some announcements, some price-sensitive announcements released by you that says otherwise. And they've listed some announcements in regards to production at that battery plant that were marked price-sensitive from Magnus's management, suggesting that yes, this sort of information is material to Magnus shareholders. So really interesting. There's a lot more to go. So that's page 11. I am not going to go into too much depth when it comes to this. Definitely right now, Magnus is not an investment grade company. It's a story stock. It's it's always been a high risk play without doubt. For those who don't like high risk plays, Magnus Energy Technologies is not the company for you. In any case, you can't trade Magnus Technologies shares right now because it's suspended. And I have a feeling if they ever trade again, and that might be a big if, the share price of this company is absolutely going to plunge from here. I would say, without even going to hot copper, I would say a lot of negative reaction to this announcement from shareholders and non-shareholders on that platform. And that's it for announcements today. So some really interesting announcements from Magnus Technologies, Task Group, like GPS, suppose that's okay, and Dimerix. But otherwise, a fairly quiet day on the ASX. Now let's have a look at top gainers and top losers today. And really interesting trading today. So the All Tech down 0.8%, when the Nasdaq was down 1.5% and the Dow Jones was only 0.3% down. And I would have expected that everything to be flipped here, that information technology sector would not be down 0.33%. I would have expected the info or IT sector to be down much more than that. And I would have expected financials and materials to be down much less than 2.6%. So it's really interesting that the financials and materials had a really bad day on the ASX. The ASX 200 banks, XBK, down 2.7. So a really down day on the ASX today. So XJO down 1.8%. So let's have a look at the worst performing and the best performing companies on the ASX. The best performing company by far was Task Group, up 90%. Although, according to ComSec, down 90%. Okay. I thought it said 91%. Oh, that's TradingView. TradingView. Has TradingView updated? Let's have a look. I'm really... Yeah, 76. I don't know what happened there. So that's the top losers. We don't go there yet. So what I'm looking for here is any sort of nice high turnover, large change in share price on high turnover. Task Group, yes, but most of the other companies here, no. Narada, they did a capital raising and highly volatile, so up 25% after the capital raising. But otherwise, you can see some really low turnover here. Shares, the value of the shares traded less than $10,000 worth. So now what I'm going to do is look at by market cap. Task Group is there. Appen had another good day. So day traders still interested in Appen for some reason. DRA Global up 21% on $6,000 worth of shares traded. Archer Materials up 7.7%. And to be honest with you, if you go through this, nothing to get too excited. There we have Bike GPS up 17.1%. So yeah, nothing to be too excited at the moment. And the worst performing companies today. And here again, the second worst performing company is a company called Firetail Resources. Turnover $140. I think I've mentioned this before. I like a little filter on Market Index where we can filter out those low turnover shares like Firetail Resources, down 29% on $140 worth of shares traded. Otherwise, no big companies here that I can see. No big companies. So let's go to the market cap. So Meridian Energy, NextGen Energy, pretty sure that's uranium. AFT Pharmaceuticals down 8% on a fairly low turnover again, $19,000 worth of shares traded for a company with a market cap of 300 million. That's fairly low turnover. No big companies at all here. So this is a sort of day where most companies were down, just broadly down, across the board down. No companies had a bad day. No companies had a good day. Just to verify that, let's have a look at XJO. I'd sometimes like this. I don't think you can do this in Market Index, but you can do this in ComSec. So you can have a look at the index makeup, all the constituents in the ASX 200. And if you just go through this, this is by alphabetical. You can also do this by change. So the best performing ASX 200 company was Square or Block. Then we had Corporate Travel Management, another good day for that company. Iris, Dexus, Lifestyle, CQ. So a few real estate companies had a good day, or REITs. Bega Cheese had a good day, but not a lot of companies up over 1%. In fact, only 6 companies up over 1%. But if you look at the worst performing companies, yeah, no really bad performance. Bellevue Gold companies had a bad day, looks like. Yeah, some bad performing companies or gold performing companies. Elders down. Weebit Nano. Surprised that's in the ASX 200. So a lot of gold companies here. So a lot of mining companies, which is understandable because we know mining companies had a bad day today. Sandfire, Fortescue, Karoon, Telix. Yeah. So no banks at the moment. There we have CBA down 2.7%. Anyway, charts wise, I'm just going to show you a few charts. So really interesting. I mentioned, yeah, Nasdaq was down 1.5%. Dow Jones is down 0.2%. So I would have expected the Australian tech sector to be down big today just because of what happened on Friday on the American markets. And I would have expected gold to have a bad day. Gold wasn't down. It's still at 2,180. So interesting trading. The other thing I'm going to do is have a look at my buy. I've just developed a new watch list, and these are ones I want to buy. So ANZ, oh, I would have liked ANZ to be right on $29. That would be a nice little buy. Westpac, oh, Westpac just dipped below the support level, down 3.2%. I think Westpac and CBA down more than ANZ just because of valuation. ANZ is probably the best value. Pinnacle down 1.2, Jumbo down 1.3, Des 3.7, and Next DC, another company, down 0. That's a play I want to buy, but I want to see it dip to about $16 before I think about buying. My other watch list I look at every single day is daily watch list. A lot more companies in this. So People In was one I was paying attention to, what was seeing if it was going to bounce off $1. It bounced off $1, up 4% today. Otherwise, nothing else much here. Appen still going strong. So last chart I'm going to look at is the 5-minute Appen chart. So this goes back to a little bit of weakness. Not look like 5-minute chart. That is a 5-minute chart. Okay. So there was a little bit of weakness late on Friday, but that was probably just day traders getting out before the weekend. So I do know a lot of day traders don't want to hold shares on the weekend. And then as soon as started trading it on Monday, they bought back in. And yeah, still in a nice uptrend, just based off the 5-minute chart. For Appen, 15-minute chart looks pretty good as well. So it looks pretty good for Appen based off the 5-minute and 15-minute chart. No reason to get really nervous right now with. No reason to get really nervous at this point in time. Probably the dip to buy was that on open? There was a dip on open. Yeah, there was a dip on open. Share price went down to 73 cents. And it seems like that would have been a time to buy because it responded really strongly after that. And that's probably why some day traders got on board the Appen Express. So that's all I've got for today's video on Kneppy's ASX Rundown. If you have any questions, if you'd like me to feature one of your questions in my next ASX Rundown, might be tomorrow or the next day, just leave that question in the comment section of that or this particular video. Otherwise, I am not a financial advisor. If you do need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own financial needs. That's it for this video. Have a good day. Bye.